So that's what shrinkflation is. That is basically your products that you buy on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, however you shop. Those products, they get smaller and smaller, but the price never changes. And in some cases, the price increases, but there's less product in there. People's Voice. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the People's Voice. I am Trey Evans, and I am the People's Voice. Thank you again for checking out the podcast this week. As always, it is greatly appreciated. As always, we will start out by saying thank you to everyone who has been listening to the podcast. Your support has been greatly appreciated, and we are at episode 50. That is 50, ladies and gentlemen. 50 straight weeks of the People's Voice. If you've been here all 50, congratulations to you, and much appreciated. To all of our first-time listeners, thank you for checking out the podcast today as well. Hopefully this podcast will provide you with information and encourage you to join our conversation and to follow us and to provide input on some of the topics that we discuss. But to everyone, thank you again for taking your time out today to listen. We know that you can utilize your time to do something else, so we are appreciative that you have decided to lend your attention to the podcast today. As always, if this information is helpful or you find it to be enlightening, please feel free to share it with your family, community, and your network. So today, I'm going to talk about a term that was thrown around a lot during 2022. But now that we're here in 2023, I think it's fallen off the radar a little bit. So I want to, re-engage that conversation. And that is regarding a term called shrinkflation. Shrinkflation. And I'll define what that is. Many of you may have heard of it. Some of you may not have heard of it. So I want to talk about that today. As always, talk about what it is, some of the examples of it, and then, of course, offer some solutions, how to identify and to manage that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So, shrinkflation. Let me give a definition, because as those of you who have listened for quite some time, I like to give a definition first, and then continue the conversation. So, shrinkflation, it basically, well, let me give the definition and then I'll kind of expound on it. So I'm looking here at cnbc.com, and it says shrinkflation happens when consumer products get smaller in weight or size and quantity, but their prices stay the same or even increase. So that's what shrinkflation is. That is basically your products that you buy on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, however you shop. Those products, they get smaller and smaller, but the price never changes. And in some cases, the price increases, but there's less product in there. So that's an example, or that's a definition of shrinkflation. Now, you, when I say you, the consumer, may have or may not have noticed this. But over the last year, especially the last year and a half now, as we've slowly come out of the pandemic, this practice of shrinkflation of products has increased more than normal. Now, so that we're all clear, shrinkflation is not some new concept. companies have been doing this for decades, right? Where they basically lower the price, lower the quantity or the amount on a product, and then keep the product or keep the price at um, the same amount. But again, here in the last year and a half, a lot of companies have accelerated this process. And, many companies will defend it and say, well, costs have gone up across the board. And, we're no different than the consumer in terms of that, those costs that go up affect us as well. And there's some legitimacy to that. But also, there's a lot of, in a lot of cases where there is some underlying motivation for additional profits, right? So it's just not covering the cost of services. It's literally to increase profits, which, let me be clear, and I've said it a million times on this program, I am not against increasing profits. I'm fully supportive of capitalism. I don't have a problem with it. And therefore, if a business finds a way to increase profits, which is really the purpose of being in business, I understand that. The issue I have with it is some of the deceptive ways or practices that companies use to increase these profits, because it's almost like, not almost, it is in many cases deception, right? You regularly buy your toothpaste, for instance, let's just say, and you're used to getting a regular size toothpaste. And then one day you buy the toothpaste and they have shrunk the toothpaste by, 3 ounces or half an ounce or, 1 ounce. So now you're getting less, but for the same price, but it's going to force you to spend more because you're going to have to make another trip to the store that you probably wouldn't have had to make based on the previous size of that product. So that's what shrinkflation is. Again, shrinkflation is the downsizing of a product while keeping the price the same. And again, this goes for many types of products, and I'm going to go through what some of those products are, and so you can identify that, and then talk a little bit about some of the challenges and also what to do when you encounter this. So I wanted to go through this list that I found here on BuzzFeed, and they did a piece where they basically labeled 18 different products, or identified 18 different products that went through shrinkflation last year in 2022. And so I want to go through that, and then talk a little bit more about some of these companies and what some companies have done and some companies haven't done. So let's talk. Let me go through that. So first off, the first product that they have here is cereal. And now, again, a lot of times with shrinkflation, you have most products are consumer-driven products, right? They are products that people use on a daily basis or weekly basis. It's the core shopping product, right? You go to the store, you're going to get paper products, you're going to get drinks or juices, beverages. You're going to get cereal. You're going to get toothpaste, mouthwash, fabric softener. These are core products, and oftentimes shrinkflation is really targeted towards these common goods. So the first one that they have here is cereal, and I think I'll post this on the Instagram as well, so you can kind of see. But they have a box of cereal here that at the beginning of at one time, I should say, I don't want to say at the beginning of the year, the size of the box, it had 760 grams in it. Now the new box is only 760 grams, and then the new box is 600 grams. So that literally is 160 grams that have been taken out of that box. Same price, but they've shrunk the box and how much cereal is in the box, which of course leads to you paying the same price but getting less product. So that's the first one. The second one that they have here is lemonade, and I thought, and I'm not gonna say the brands because I don't want to brand bash. Right? I'm just pointing out what shrinkflation looks like. So when you guys are in the store, you're more cognizant of this when you're shopping. And then, like I said, I'll explain some of the things that you can do when you do see this. But so the second one that they have here is lemonade, and they have a bottle of lemonade here, and the size was reduced from 64 ounces. Right, it went from 64 ounces down to 59 ounces, and now it's at 52 ounces. So literally, you've lost 12 ounces of lemonade for those of you who drink lemonade. And the company that they're showcasing here makes all type of beverages, right? So they make lemonades, fruit punches, orange juice, apple juice, and that means that this is not just limited just to lemonade, right? Oftentimes, when companies practice shrinkflation, they shrink products or all products within their product line. So this goes across the board because, again, as I mentioned earlier, they'll defend this and say, well, it's a part of being profitable. But at the same time, you as the consumer will not necessarily notice it because oftentimes you're fixated on the price and not reading the label to see what the amount is in terms of change of quantity within that product. So, but that was the second example. So they have the lemonade here. It went from 64 ounces. Now it's down to 52 ounces, 12 ounces of juice of lemonade that is gone. But you as a consumer are paying the same price. And again, in some cases, you're paying even a higher price. The next one they have here is soap. They have the original soap, and on this one, they did a great job because they put the years on for the sizes. So in 2019, a bar of soap had a net weight of 4 ounces in 2019. In 2021, it had a net weight of 3.75 ounces, which is a quarter of an ounce. Now, again, it may not seem like a big thing. It's a quarter of an ounce. What's big? But they literally are able to calculate how much that is in terms of how much more you will spend. Because remember, every time that they reduce it, this means that you will come back to the store more often to get the product. So they've calculated this already into their equation. So that quarter of an ounce makes a huge difference. But in 2019, the bar of soap was 4 ounces. 2021, the bar of soap was 3.7 ounces. And in 2022, the same bar of soap from the same company is now 3.17 ounces, which is a whole nother, a whole nother 60, another 60%, basically, not 60%, but another two quarters of soap that is no longer in that same bar, right? So you literally got 2 quarters of soap that has been disappeared from the same soap that you had in 2019. But again, the price hasn't changed. Next product, paper towels, and this is a big one. Paper towels and toilet paper are huge. It's so ironic because I was shopping with my daughter when she was going back to school, and we were buying the toilet paper. She picked up the roll, and immediately she said, "Dad, look at this. It's so much smaller." And not even realizing it myself, when I looked at it and read, it had per sheets were much lower. I believe it had less rolls than in the previous packages that we bought. So it was like, wow, it's amazing how quickly they make these changes. And not only do they make these changes, but again, you as the consumer are not notified about that. But here in paper towels, they pulled out a pack of paper towels, and you could see in the picture. And I know I'm doing this, kind of over the podcast, and wish I could be more visual. But basically, the paper itself is much thinner, right? So the ply, right? So because a lot of times they'll have a 4-ply, and then they'll have a 2-ply. So they'll reduce it from 4 to 2 or 4 to 3, same price, but you as the consumer haven't realized it because you're just looking at the price and maybe not looking at the quantity and the size. And then they go through a ton of other products. You have fabric softeners here that they have an example. One went from 40 ounces down to 32 ounces. You have a can of tomatoes that went from 15 ounces down to 14.5 ounces. And again, I know many people may hear this and go, well, it's only 0.5. It makes a huge difference. You'd be surprised. And that's not just consumer goods either. I mean, they've got here cat food that has been reduced, not only reduced in size, right? And this is a great example. They have cat food here that not only has been reduced in size, but it also has increased in price. So you have the cat food here that was $55 for 24 cans, and the cans were 5.8 ounces per can. The new price is now $62. Okay, still they give you 24 cans, but they reduced the cans to 5.1 ounces per can. So that's a 0.7 ounces per can that you no longer have to feed your cat, and so on and so forth. And of course, the price is now $7 more. So you're literally paying more for less in that particular example. They have chips, same thing. Body wash, they have same thing in terms of shrinking and keeping the price the same. And you have yogurts. You also have coffee, which we all know is very big for a lot of people. In this example, they have a can of coffee, a can of coffee that was at 11 ounces for basically $4.98. So you could get an 11-ounce package of coffee for $4.98. That package changed from 11 ounces down to 9.6 ounces, and now it costs $5.32. So again, another example of prices going up while product quantity goes down. And then they have several other examples as well in terms of ice cream and cookies. Excuse me. They even have chocolate that has been reduced. But one of the things about this that is very concerning is this is not just happening with consumer goods that you use on a daily basis, okay? This is also occurring with medications, where a lot of times they'll keep the amount in the medication the same, okay? They'll keep the amount the same. But what will happen is they'll for lack of a better explanation, they'll water down the dosage, right? So that means that you will have to take more in order to get the same effect, because they've basically watered down or modified the effectiveness of the drug that's in the medication. Matter of fact, let me play this from WCCB in Charlotte. They did a report on this, and they spoke to Ed Dworski, who is from Consumer World, and he talked about medicine, cough syrup in this, And listen to what he said about this. This is very interesting.
Got a cough this winter? You might want to buy some extra cough syrup. That's because more and more brands have watered down their medicine, according to consumerworld.org. Its latest report on Skimpflation claims cough syrup strength has been cut in half in certain store brands in recent months. These photos, provided by Consumer World, show the "See New Dosing" message on the front. On the back, it used to tell you to take 10 milliliters every 4 hours. Now you need to take 20 to have the same effectiveness.
So, as you heard there in that report, they've watered down the cough syrup, and literally you now have to take more cough syrup in order to get the same effect. Now, what does that do? Well, obviously, I think it's dangerous. I'm not a medical professional, but I think that that's dangerous, that they're basically requiring you to take more of a medication in order to relieve yourself. And in this case, this is a cough medicine, and this is a cough medicine for adults and children. So children over 12 years old. So I'm very concerned about that. But bigger than that, they're watering it down. And that means that if you don't get the effect that you were seeking when you first purchased the item, that means you're going to go back to the store to buy some more. And this is with cough syrup, okay? And this is, I think, very, very concerning in terms of companies trying to save or even increase profits. So I wanted to play that example because, as I was saying, this shrinkflation just doesn't happen with foods or consumer goods. It also is occurring with medicine, as you just heard in that example as well. So, what ways can we fight this, right? Because, this is information as always, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are providing some guidance and some suggestions on how to identify and how to combat this, or at least be more educated about this when you're in the stores. So one of the first things that you want to notice or take note to, or as I guess something that's an alert to shrinkflation occurring, is when you see the sign that says new, redesigned, especially when you're dealing with a lot of consumer goods, beverages, and packaged goods paper goods such as bathroom tissue and paper towels and things of that nature, fabric softeners, or even detergent. A lot of times they'll have on the shelf redesigned packaging, or you'll see on the label as you go down the aisle, it'll say new. Well, a lot of times it's new because they've redesigned it, and not only have they redesigned it, but they've also changed the quantity. And you as a consumer may think, hey, wow, this is a very new, cool package. I really like how this looks. Grab for it. May be the same price, or it may be even a little higher, and you think, well, it's new, so that's why it's higher. And you pull the product not realizing that not only is it the same product, but it's less in it, and they're charging me more. So that's one of the first things you want to do, or I guess one of the first signals. You see new or redesigned packaging in the stores, you want to be aware of that. The next thing that you want to do is compare the pricing, right? Now, listen, not everybody reads labels, and this is about being more aware, being more conscious. So a lot of times, store brand products are similar in size, right? Store brand products practice shrinkflation, but not at the rate as some of the larger or more popular brands do, because obviously the larger brands have a higher overhead, right? So you may want to compare if there's that store brand fabric softener or detergent, or that store brand beverage. You might want to grab the one that's popular that you usually drink, and grab the store brand and kind of put them together and make a little comparison. Like, check the per ounce, check how much is in it, read the label. and you may see the difference there. And a lot of times, you know, you can buy store brand. I know it's marketed away to people that the ones you see on TV is the better brand, but in a lot of cases, the quality and the product is very similar to the store brand product. Just a FYI. But that's another thing that you can do is compare. You want to compare the per ounce from either if you are aware of what you were buying before and you understand that amount, or maybe to the store brand that's currently in the store. Um, it's recommended here, and I'm getting this information from the pennyhoarder.com. Buy in bulk. Buying in bulk is huge. I do that all the time. Go to Costco. When you buy in bulk, and I'm going to read directly from here, it says from pennyhoarder.com, it says that buying in bulk from retailers not only helps you save money, but it also helps you reduce the amount of shrinkflation. Because in many cases, when you buy in bulk, you get a better deal, obviously, per unit. And of course, not only do you get a better deal in terms of per unit, but it lasts a lot longer. So you can deal with some of the shifts or avoid some of the shifts in shrinkflation or the policy of shrinkflation because you have those goods for quite a long time. I can tell you, I buy dryer sheets probably every 2 years. I buy the big pack from Costco, and I don't buy dryer sheets again. Same thing with detergent. I might buy detergent maybe twice a year, maybe 3 times a year because I buy it in bulk. I do the same thing with paper towels and so on and so forth. So buying in bulk is another way to kind of avoid shrinkflation or at least manage it. Consider other stores, of course. You can always do a price comparison. Go to some of the lower brands. I don't want to say lower brand, but some of the other stores that are not as popular to shop at, especially when you're talking about supermarkets. Some of the Dollar Generals, the Dollar Trees, things of that nature. A lot of times they have the same products in there, but just at a lower cost, especially when you're dealing with some of the non-perishable items. Shop online, got a lot of discounts online. Obviously, if you shop at Amazon.com, I didn't even want to even promote that. But if you want to shop on some of the online retailers, you definitely want to take advantage of that. And then it also suggests here, and again, I'm reading from the pennyhoarder.com, to take advantage of discount apps. I'm not a discount app guy, but I know many people who utilize discount apps, and sometimes that allows you to save as well because not only do they provide price comparisons, but they give you the latest updates on the best deals of the day, especially when you're dealing with some of the big box retailers. So those are just some of the suggestions on how to avoid or how to fight shrinkflation, so to speak. And I just also wanted to add that shrinkflation is not just in goods, right? You see this a lot in restaurants as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone here at some point or knows someone who goes to fast food restaurants, and you all know fast food restaurants, not only do they raise the price, but they lower the quantity as well, and this is done in a lot of restaurants as well. So just be aware of that. Be conscious of it when you're doing your price comparativeness or your price comparing before you purchase the products. The biggest thing that I would suggest is read the label. Read the labels as you're shopping. Be more conscious of that. A lot of us, and I'm guilty of it myself, of just sometimes picking it up, looking at the price and going. But just to be aware that you're paying more, or at least understand what you're paying for, read the labels, take the time. It can save you a couple of dollars a shopping trip, which, towards the end of the year can really add up. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Shrinkflation, the shrinkflation that is occurring in the world. And, prices will continue to go up, but at least if we can save a couple of dollars, it helps everyone in some shape, form, or fashion. So I hope this information was helpful and insightful. If so, as always, I ask that, you can go ahead and follow us on our social media platforms. You can reach me at I am Trey Evans. That's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You could also reach us at the show podcast, which is the People's Voice Podcast, and that's on Instagram. Please leave a comment, give a suggestion. We'd love to hear the feedback as we move forward with the program. So that is my time for today. As always, dreams are not just for sleeping. Please wake up and live your dreams. My name is Trey Evans, the People's Voice. Tell somebody about the dream. Salute. The People's Voice.